Hi everyone, my name is Kim Cleveland. I'm a family nurse practitioner with the Department of Corporate Health and Wellbeing at St. Alphonsus.
Hi guys, I'm Amy. I'm a registered dietitian with the same department, Corporate Health and Wellbeing, over at St. Alphonsus.
Today we're going to be making this delicious soup. It is a seasonal soup with asparagus, zucchini, and carrots, and it's called the seasonal asparagus soup. So yeah, we have a lot of great vegetables here. I love this soup because it's a little versatile as well. You can add different vegetables in depending on what you have growing in your garden or what you have available and what's in season. I love using asparagus in the spring. There's only so many ways I know how to cook it, so usually I'm pan searing it or putting it on the grill, but this soup allows for another idea of a way to get your vegetables in, and you can serve it all week as a side dish with whatever else you're eating, which is great. So we're gonna start with some leeks here, and I have about a leek and a half. I have it pretty finely chopped like you would an onion. If you have onion on hand and no leeks, the onions will work too. So you can just slice up an onion.
I don't know about you guys, but regardless of whether it's winter, spring, summer, it might as well always be soup season in my house.
Yes.
I'm always cooking soup.
Yeah. This one's nice too. It's sort of like a creamy earth soup. There's actually no cream in it. There's some goat cheese that gives it a really nice velvety, smooth flavor. But it's nice too because you can adapt it to the season. So we've got our leeks here. We're gonna add the carrots too. I have 2 carrots here that are chopped. We'll add those in with the leeks.
So colorful.
Yeah. Once we're done with it, it's gonna be pretty much a yellow-green color.
Nice. I like it. Maybe a good way for you guys to sneak in vegetables for our picky veggie eaters.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is great. I can actually get my kids to eat it, which is fantastic. I don't even know that they're getting all these delicious variety of veggies.
Love that.
But you give my daughter anything with goat cheese and a baguette and she's in.
My kind of girl.
We just added in 3 cloves of garlic as well. Right.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we're just gonna let this saute for a couple of minutes. Tons of veggies in this. You know, you've got a lot of vitamin A, vitamin C, folate, some good fiber, lots of really great nutrients in here, antioxidants.
I love that there's so many colors. That's something that I always say as a dietitian, is if you've got variety in colors, you've got variety in nutrients.
Definitely. This one doesn't require too many spices. I think because there are so many different vegetables in here, you're getting a lot of different flavors. So primarily it's going to be salt and pepper, and then the garlic, of course, too. We're just going to let that saute up. It's like the leeks are starting to soften and get a little bit translucent, which is your key that this portion is coming to an end. It's going to boil for a little bit, so these carrots are going to cook through in the boiling process. So I'm going to take 2 zucchinis here. You can use 1 large zucchini or 2 smaller, and I'm just going to add those in, along with our asparagus. And I have 1 bunch here that I've trimmed the ends off of, this sort of stalky end, and then just cut them into 4ths or 5ths, just up the asparagus. At the end of making the soup, you will need a blender or an immersion blender, and so it's not too important to get these super small because we'll be blending it up at the end anyway.
Potato would be really good in here too.
Ooh, yeah, that's
like
a good idea. Yeah. All right, so we're just gonna stir to incorporate those veggies, and then we're going to add 3.5 cups of vegetable broth. We're using a lower sodium vegetable broth here, and a lot of the broths can have quite a bit of sodium in them, and so using a lower sodium broth allows you to kind of control that flavor profile as well as the amount of salt that's going into your soup, which is why I like to use the lower sodium broths. You can always add more salt at the end, but you can't take away.
That's what I say.
Okay, so we've got it all here in the pot, and we are going to turn up the heat a little bit until it gets up to sort of a boil. And once it gets to a boil, we'll then reduce it to a simmer and let it simmer for 15 minutes, and then we'll be back. All right, so we're back now with our asparagus soup, and it's been cooking now at a simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes or so. And everything is really nicely soft in here. It almost looks a little bit mushy, which is gonna make the blending process that much easier. So as I promised, this is a little bit more of a creamy soup. A lot of recipes will use like a heavy cream, or some of the lighter ones will use like a milk or a half and half. This recipe gets a really good flavor because you're actually using goat cheese for the cream source. It gets really silky and velvety. And so we used a 4-ounce log of goat cheese, and you'll just put that into the soup and sort of stir it in and let it melt.
I think goat cheese can be kind of strong for some people who might not like it, but surprisingly in soup, it pairs really well.
Yeah, it gives it some of that flavor too, that, like I said, this recipe doesn't have a lot of complicated spices or anything like that, and this just gives it that little bit of extra flavor. So we've stirred that in, and now we are going to use an immersion blender to get the whole soup pureed. Now, I'm using a stick blender, an immersion blender. This is kind of a fun tool. If you've never used one before, you kind of press the button and it zooms. So that's kind of nice. If you don't have one of these though, you can always sort of wait for it to cool a little bit and then use a regular blender, or if you have a large food processor, that could work too. But I like the immersion blender for this application. So we're just gonna put it down into the soup and press the button and sort of press down. And the nice thing is you can see it kind of has this guard here where the blade is a little bit recessed into this oval portion. And so it's not going to scrape the bottom of your pot. So it is safe to use in those pots. I would be careful if you're using like a ceramic Dutch oven. I often will transfer it to another bowl to use the immersion blender just because I like to protect those pieces a little bit more. And it blends up fairly easily like this.
I like kind of doing it in like segments versus kind of stirring, you know?
Yeah.
I always tend to get some backsplash when I do that.
Yeah, once these bigger pieces get broken up, doing the stirring method will work okay too, but you can't get a little splash if you start out the gate like that. Alright, and then we'll just stir and see where we need some more love. And there we have it, our super easy 15 or 20 minute seasonal asparagus soup.